Hi, this is Ann from shopbakersnook.com, and today we're going to be making chocolate covered cherries. Now I have all the products here that we're going to be using for this. First we're going to start with our mold. I like to use this mold because it has a little cherry imprint on the top so that people actually know what they're going to be eating. And on that little cherry imprint we're going to be filling it in with our candy writers. I have red and dark green, and these are basically melted chocolate in a tube that we're going to use to decorate our cherry. For the centers, we're going to be using maraschino cherry. For the cream center, we're going to be using ready fondant with that. And for the liquid center, we're going to be mixing the cherry juice with our dry fondant. We're also going to be using the paintbrush to paint up our chocolate up the sides to make our shell. And of course, our candy funnel, that's going to get our chocolate into our mold. And finally, our white cotton gloves, and that's going to be so that we don't get any fingerprint marks on our chocolate. So let's get started in making our chocolate covered cherries. Okay, now we're going to get started. What I have in here is I have my candy writers, which are the melted chocolate in a tube in a bowl of hot water, not boiling. You want to make sure it's just hot. And have them in there, and you want to flip them around every once in a while and kind of knead them a little bit. It'll take about 5 minutes in this bowl of hot water for them to melt completely. And then we're going to take those out of the water because I have them all nice and melted here. And I make sure I want to wipe them off because I don't want this water dripping into my mold because water is the enemy of chocolate. Okay, so we have that. And now I'm going to take my cherry mold that has the little indentations of the cherry in it. And I'm going to take this candy writer. And then all you have to do to use it is cut this little tip off the end. And then now we're ready to go. So now I'm just going to fill in this little cherry. See how easy they are to use? You don't need to have, let's get something in my mold there. You don't need to have paintbrushes. These are why these are really great for kids to use, because they're not hot, so I can hold on to them with no problem. And they're inexpensive, so you can do a lot of different colors. Okay, I have my little cherries. Now we're going to do the green, and we're going to put our little leaves on our cherries. And the reason I like to use this mold to do the chocolate covered cherries is because it's nice to have a cherry indentation on there so that when you have this in a box, especially if you have it mixed with other kinds of chocolate, then people will know which one is which. So we're just putting the little green leaves on there. And now after I do this, I want to just let this sit for a minute because I want to make sure that that has all set up before I put in my other chocolate, otherwise it's going to smear. So let me show you what this is going to look like. See how we have the little indentation? We have the cherry and the leaf on there. And that's going to be on the top of our chocolates. Okay, so we're just going to set that aside for a minute so that sets up. And then we're going to look at our melted chocolate. What I have here is I have the Merkin's milk chocolate that we melted. And remember, the way that we melt this is in a microwave safe bowl like Rubbermaid or Tupperware. You do not want to use glass. We're going to put it in the microwave at 50% power. If your microwave only has high and defrost, please use defrost. Stir it after 1 minute and stir it every 30 seconds to 1 minute after that. Because this is the consistency that you're looking for. You want to be able to have a nice pouring consistency. And now we're going to put this into our funnel. This is the easiest way to get our chocolate into our mold. So we're just going to pour this melted chocolate in our funnel. And now a little bit about the way our funnel works is it has a trigger here, and then it has your stopper up here. So your thumb goes up here and your finger goes in here. When I pull up on that, the chocolate comes out. When I push down, it stops. So it's really simple to do. So now we're going to get our mold back, and I'm going to fill all of these cavities about 1/3 of the way full with the melted chocolate. See how our funnel gets it in there just where we want it? Now we're going to take our paintbrush and we're going to take that chocolate and we're going to paint it up the sides of the mold. What we're forming is a shell that's going to hold our cherries and our filling. So we're going to do that on every one of these molds. See, nothing about this is hard so far. I think any of you can do this. Okay, now once I have that done, here's a little trick. Turn your mold around because you cannot see that side and you may have missed the little spaces, and you want to make sure you have the shell all the way to the top. Now, we're going to stop at this point, and what we're going to do is this mold is going to go into the freezer for a couple minutes. Now, with chocolate covered cherries especially, you need to make sure that you do not leave this mold in the freezer too long, because you don't want to get any of those hairline cracks, because your liquid center will leak out of those. So we're only going to put it in the mold just until this shell sets up. Okay, now let's work on the filling for our centers. So what I have is the maraschino cherries, and what I want to do is I want to take them out of this jar, and we're going to put them on a piece of paper towel to dry them off. Because we don't want them to be too juicy, or that's going to affect our centers. Okay, so we have our cherries. I take a paper towel, kind of blot them off so we get them dry. Okay, now for our liquid center, what we're going to do is we're going to take our dry fondant, and this is just a powder, and we're going to put it in this bowl. And then we're going to mix that with some of our maraschino cherry juice. There is no exact recipe for this. Most people use about a cup of the powder to a quarter cup of the juice, but you just want to stir it up, and if it looks like it needs a little more, you just want to have a nice liquidy center here. Because this will liquefy a little more as it sits inside the cherry. And when you first mix it up, it's going to look a little grainy. Don't worry, as that sugar dissolves more, even inside your cherry, it will get more liquid and all that graininess will disappear. So you just want to add a little bit more. It's still a little stiff. Okay, this is kind of the consistency that you're looking for. And this is going to be our liquid center. Now we're going to do our cream center. For a cream center, remember we're using this ready fondant. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little piece of this, and I'm going to kind of flatten it out with my hands. And then I'm going to take one of these cherries, and I'm going to set it in there, and I'm just kind of wrap that around there. And then that center is going to go right into our mold. Just like that. So we're going to do a couple more of those. Take our ready fondant, flatten it out. Add our cherry, wrap it around, press it into our mold. And this will liquefy a little bit also as the juice comes out of that cherry. So it's not going to be quite as stiff as the cream center is right now. Flatten that out. And if your cherries are a little big, you can also cut them in half. we'll do one more of this and then we'll do the rest of them with our liquid center. Okay, so we have those with our cream center. Now for our liquid center, I like to take that and put it in a disposable decorating bag. So we're just going to take this mixture that we made and scrape it into our bag. Take our scissors, cut a little off the end. Now, we're going to put this mixture into our mold first. I'm going to squeeze it in. I only want to fill it about 1/3 of the way with this mixture because I'm going to push the cherry in there, and this liquid center is going to kind of come up around the cherry. And I don't want any of this to touch the top part of my, just like that. See, I don't want that. If that happens, what you do is take your finger and get that away from there because I want to make sure my chocolate seals, and if I have any of that around the top, it's not going to seal. Take my cherry, put it in there. See how the filling will come up around that cherry? Plus, like I said, this is going to liquefy a little more, and you don't want too much liquid in there, otherwise when they bite into that cherry, it's going to make a mess. Okay, now we're ready to top it off with the rest of our chocolate. So we're going to take our funnel again, put some chocolate on the top of there, make sure it's completely covered. Gonna get a nice layer of chocolate. Now, sometimes what I do, if I think when my mold comes out of the freezer that my shell is not quite thick enough, I'll do a second coat on that first shell just to make sure that I don't have any cracks in there, because this liquid center will leak out of any of those hairline cracks that you have in this mold. So don't be afraid to do another little brush up with your paintbrush and a little extra chocolate. Okay, we have them all sealed up with chocolate. Now I just kind of want to tap my mold a little bit. What that's going to do is make it so my bases are all nice and flat, and this is going to go back into the freezer for a couple minutes to set up. Okay, we have our chocolate covered cherries back from the freezer. We have our white cotton gloves on so we don't get our fingerprints on them, and this is now we're going to unmold them. I'm going to flip this over, and then I'm going to kind of flex the mold a little bit. And that's going to release the cherries. I don't want to really tap this hard because, like I said, I don't want to cause any cracks in my cherries. There we go. Got that last one. Now, see how we have the little cherry on there and we've painted it with the red and the green, and then we have this nice shine to our chocolate. This comes from putting it in the freezer. If you put it in the refrigerator or just let your mold sit out on the table, you won't get this nice shine to your chocolate. Now we're going to package these up and get them ready for our present. What I have here is I have these little paper cups. These are candy cups. These are great for using to put your candies in, especially if they're a little bigger, because sometimes when they're a little bit bigger, well, we can't get them apart with our cotton glove on. When your candy itself is a little bit bigger, then sometimes it won't fit in those trays that we used before, so you want to use like a little candy cup. And this just makes a nice presentation with your chocolate. So we're going to put all these in our candy cups. This is going to look very professional when you're done. Now we're going to take these and we're going to put them in a nice holiday box. I have a ribbon and holly box, which is perfect for Christmas. Really simple to do, folds up really fast. We're going to take our little cherries. We're going to put them in the box. And there you have it. We have a beautiful box of chocolate covered cherries. Perfect present for anybody, any time of the year. And we hope you'll visit our website at www.shopbakersnook.com for lots of products, tips, and ideas.